Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's been a nice little gap that we've had on Freewheeling, so I'm very happy to be back here with you and live, as we always promise. And I have, of course, as always, a special guest who's about to join me. And the expectation, as always, is that we'll have not only an interesting conversation but get a lot of questions from all of you. And before I go on and on, let me go ahead and welcome our guest today. And there he is. That's Tarun Mehta. He is the founder, co-founder, and CEO at Ather Energy. It's wonderful to see you. Welcome.
Hey, hi Siddharth. Thanks for having me over.
It's my pleasure, and I can tell you that we had been planning this for a while. I know you know this, but some of the others possibly who are watching do not. So, welcome to all our live viewers. There are a lot of people who started already jumping in. So, good to see you guys. And like I said, any questions you have later on for Tarun, you have to ask. But let me start by asking you. I'm assuming you are at home. Is this work from home for you as well, Tarun? Has it been like that?
Yeah, yeah, it's been work from home since pretty much March, sometime mid-March, early
Yeah.
March. Started traveling a little bit to the office and taking a few meetings outside, but largely here, yeah, largely at home.
Yeah, it's been like that, I think, for most of us. Was it tough or easier to manage this or navigate it?
Um, we were just chatting about this, and I think I would say the same thing. Work in progress, but not too bad, not too bad. You would imagine that for an automotive company, it'll be crazy hard to sort of work from home. And obviously, like our folks at retail, our folks in servicing, our folks in customer support, manufacturing, quality,
Hmm.
those guys are back in the field. But a lot of the design team, most of the corporate team, I would say almost 80-90% is being able to work from home. Almost to the point that I actually think that long term, most of us may not need to come back to office on a daily basis. Like a few days a week might be enough for many of us. So yeah, a pretty significant change.
Before I get into the details of that, because there are many things that have come to mind that I want to ask you in any case, a question on the name. Where did this company's name come from? Why did you choose this? I've always been
Um,
curious. It's a personal question more than anything else.
so we've been calling ourselves Ather since second year of college. Me and my co-founder Swapnil.
Yeah.
So we knew each other in college. We were in the same department. And while we started the entire EV business only in 2013, end 2013,
Hmm.
we've been calling ourselves Ather Energy since 2009. And the idea was at that time we were very fascinated by building a pure energy company. And Aether is a Greek word. It stands for the purest form of air. It's in Greek mythology. So we call ourselves Aether Energy as the purest form of energy. And that's where the word comes from.
While we are speaking, I've just played a little bit of background video, I think, too, so people can relate to what you're talking about.
Right.
We're seeing the sort of charging station and the scooter pulling up to it. But tell me, why and how did this idea first germinate for you in your mind?
So way back in our last year of college, I was working on a small project in one of the courses.
When you say
And
way back, it's not that long ago.
yeah, it's long enough for us. Long enough
Long
for us.
enough for you. Okay, I'll
Long
take
enough for us.
that.
So back in our fifth year, back in the last year, we were working on a small project in one of the courses in the department, and in that course, we just happened to on a whim pick up batteries for electric vehicles. There was a very neat idea about what we could do with them, and it just so happened that the idea was very interesting. So I started writing a patent on that. And then the term ended, we graduated, and there was a few months before I started on my next job. And in those few months, I felt that, okay, let me just take this patent to completion. And as I kept writing that patent, and as I kept trying to defend that patent idea from multiple other ideas that existed, it took me down this rabbit hole of figuring out more about batteries, more about electric vehicles, and even when I took up the job, for like months, all I was doing on weekend was basically working on that idea more and more. So eventually, it came to a point that I realized that there is a big opportunity with electric vehicle batteries and electric vehicles in general. And I rang up my partner, Swapnil, asked him to come join me in Chennai, where I was situated, leave his job, and told him that we should start building batteries for all electric scooters and motorbikes. And that's how things started.
So, from what you've told me, of course, I think the sort of tech behind that idea is kind of evident. But
Hmm.
from at what stage would you say it went from being supplier of batteries or trying to hone the battery experience to becoming the maker of the vehicle as well?
Oh, very early on. So, by the way, I hope, is there too much background noise on my side?
A little bit. It's not disturbing us. We can ask our viewers if
Okay,
they're okay with it.
cool. It's fine. Okay. So,
I'll tell you if
I
there's a
think,
problem. This is a very
yeah,
informal,
just give me a heads
not
up.
like a typical sort of TV show. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
So I was saying, actually very early on. So initially, as I told you, my idea was let's build batteries for electric vehicles, and it was very fascinating. But literally within a few months of my co-founder sort of leaving his job, coming and we hadn't formally started Ather. Like this is still early days. We were just still toying around with the idea. We were just building prototypes. We were not sure what company would come out of this, and we started talking to electric vehicle owners,
Mhm.
people who had bought electric scooters and electric cars. And a couple of things hit us. First, that these guys believed in electric. Like they were like 100% sold on the idea. They were like definition early adopters, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, in लोगों को पक्का कोई बेच पाएंगे, like 100%, like we'll sell them something. Okay. The second thing that hit us very strongly was, man, these guys hated every single product that existed. Like there's a customer that I remember meeting in Chennai. Uh, he had bought three electric scooters from three different brands over a 4 year period. Okay, all three of them were junked in his courtyard. Like he was in a small independent house, and as soon as you walk into that house, just at the entrance, there were three electric scooters junked. And the guy still believed in electric, and he wanted to spend like an hour with me. He was giving
That's
me so
really
much yarn,
something. Yeah.
and yeah, he's giving me so much yarn. But he's like, I hate all these scooters. Okay, like I need a better scooter. And that's when we quickly saw a threat and an opportunity. The threat was that, by God, we're trying to build batteries that we will sell to people who have already bought electric scooters. But the problem is these guys hate every single electric scooter in the market. So like I don't think their problems are going to be genuinely solved if I try selling them a better battery, because they hate the product. Like you can't sell them an accessory if they hate the product, right? And the opportunity was, oh, in that case, what if we actually build the entire scooter? Maybe people will like that. And
Yeah.
the co-founder insisted hard, and that was the first and probably one of the few pivots that we did. Quickly pivoted from saying, okay, we'll build batteries, to saying, okay, we'll build batteries and we'll also build a scooter that will go along with the battery, and we'll build an OEM business along the way.
But did you before that little sort of window where you were still only going to be doing the batteries, had you already gone and spoken with a lot of the existing OEMs to say that, hey, look, is this something we can do with you, or that hadn't
No, we
yet
never
happened?
believed that was an option. Well, okay, very early days we did try, like whatever little connect we had. Yeah, whatever little connects we had, we reached out a few companies that were doing electric vehicles, tried understanding from them what they thought of the market.
Hmm.
We weren't impressed with anybody that we spoke to. But to be honest, like early on itself, we didn't believe that there is an opportunity by trying to build batteries as a supplier to these
Right.
guys.
Right.
We wanted to go to the consumer directly. As a, like if you want to be a supplier, you need some credibility, you need some reputation, you need a lot of investment before anything happens. None of that seemed very easy, very viable. So we were like, hey, listen, we can probably excite customers if you build something very exciting. Like we're good enough engineers. Can we use our engineering? Can we use what we build to actually get customers excited, right? And the
Right.
idea was, we'll build batteries as retrofits, or as an aftermarket solution, and we will brand the heck out of it so that people actually directly come and buy our batteries. Um, so from the very early days, while we did some homework, honestly, we kind of felt that we'll go to customers directly.
All right. Fair point. I want to quickly acknowledge a lot of people saying hello already. There's Sanjay, there's Bhairavi, there's Roger, there's Sachin, Rohan, yeah, a whole lot of people, Gajanan and Shashikant, they're all saying hello, Farooq. And they have some questions, but guys, hang in there. I have seen those questions, and I promise I will take them to Tarun. But we're still sort of at the early onset of this discussion in a sense, so bear with me. My next question is then about what that initial phase of finding the investors or the investment, and then actually getting off the ground. That's always the toughest. Um,
Hmm.
how tough was it, given so many stories we hear about people who either do it for years, sometimes it doesn't even work, or then finally make a breakthrough. Would you say that, as tough as it would have been, you still, in retrospect, think that you did get a lot of early interest?
Invest interest? No, to be honest. It's not like we had people dining out of our hands. No, not really. But the journey wasn't, I wouldn't say the journey was brutal or tough or anything. Honestly, we were enjoying ourselves because we weren't trying to build a business, honestly, at the starting phase. Starting phase, all we wanted to do was just start building electric scooter and have a lot of fun doing it. And as the idea started taking up shape, we were like, okay, let's have a few philosophies and let's chase those philosophies. So the first philosophy was we're going to be design first. So we're going to put out a sketch of the vehicle, and then we're going to figure out how do we build the vehicle inside that sketch, instead of the standard thing that we heard happened in the industry, which is you put up an entire chassis and you put up an entire architecture, and then you ask the industrial design team to wrap it up.
Yeah.
That's a nice sounding philosophy. So we started with that. So honestly, we were just having fun. It was just like a few lakh rupees here and there. We managed to count something together. Not even like 15, 20 lakhs. I'm talking about like 2, 3 lakh rupees. And that was good enough for us to pull out a couple of prototypes, get the first concept sketch going, and just have a lot of fun. We raised a little bit of money. We raised, I believe, about 40 lakhs in that phase. And 40 lakhs was good enough for a team of people to last for like 1 year. 1 year, I believe about 3, 4, or 5 prototypes, a team of about 10, maybe 12 people, I don't remember. We were just having a lot of fun. And so the journey was super exciting. And we had good luck. After this 40 lakhs, Sarjan Beni Bansal invested. They invested about 6.5 crores. And that did turn a lot of things around for us and made the entire thing very real. But I wouldn't get into stories of, like some extreme hardship or brutal, because that's not what we remember the phase as. We just remember the phase as extreme amount of fun.
The number of times you said extreme amount of fun has actually got me really excited, because I think that's what it really comes down to, right? You really want to be doing something that excites you, you enjoy it, and it's not like you're trying to just do it from, oh, let me build a business. This is more about, really being able to create something that you want to create and bring to market. I'll tell you from personal experience, of course, that's a philosophy I endorse, but the other thing which, when you were narrating this, which struck out, was this sketch coming out. It's something I remember. I recall that, and I remember thinking that's actually a good-looking scooter, because a lot of the others, like you said, for whatever reason, they may have been junked, even in terms of usage or battery. They weren't even sort of sexy-looking and exciting, and which is how, in fact, this whole thing started long back. Since then, I've been making plans to come to Bangalore to visit you guys. I know, so that's overdue. But that is not usually the approach. And do you think that is perhaps one of the reasons for the success that you have had?
Uh, I think it helped. I think it definitely helped. I think it gave, more than anything else, I think it gave us a lot of clarity in the first few years. So what you kind of said is that, as I told you, right? Like we were in that phase in the first year and a half. All we were honestly doing was writing out random philosophies and just making them the purpose of our life for the next few years. And we would stick very hard with them. And one of them was this. So once we had the sketch in front of us, we were like, hey, listen, let's be very sure that this is something all of us like, and let's just sort of see the reaction of people outside. If it's wow, I think that's it. Like we don't need a massive survey here. We just need like 30, 40 people that will show it to. If on average everybody's saying wow, I think that's it. Because from our perspective, the thing that was really missing in the EV market was not distribution, it was not manufacturing, it was, in our opinion, not even technology. Okay, like sure, nobody was doing the right tech in India, but like if you look globally, Model S had launched in 2012. Like what are you talking of? Like EVs have arrived. Okay, like all the technology exists. Like we talk about cells crossing $100 a kilowatt hour. Even back then, it was 130. Like so, it was all already there. From our perspective, what was missing in the Indian market was a good spec and a sexy looking product. Like, and that's got to be the starting point, because if early adopters are the ones who are going to buy new technology, because that's obvious, then you need to give them, you need to serve it well. Like you can't
as
you
Tesla
can't
proved, around, as Tesla had already proved.
As Tesla has already proved, right?
Yeah.
So it was a helping factor, and the reason it allowed us to focus is, we could have a lot of difficulties. Timelines could move. Budgets will go up multiple times. But everybody knew in the first few years that the purpose is very clear. That sketch that we have in front of us and the spec sheet that we wrote down, like when we were two people, that's what you have to build. Like the day both of these happen, I think we are successful. Gives a lot of clarity to everybody involved.
For sure, yeah.
It became a lightning rod for everybody. Like it became the purpose, the product purpose for several years.
And so, who, by the way, who's responsible for that first sketch?
The first set, Shantanu.
Okay.
Shantanu Joke, he's in
Yeah.
our industrial design team. He's there with us. He was first. That was his sketch.
No, in fact, when you were answering the previous question, I was playing out visuals of the 450. So people who haven't yet been familiarized with it, who are watching right now, certainly got a glimpse at that product. Now, um, you did start obviously with this strategy to go from, start one city, keep expanding, and that's not surprising. There's a lot of people who are asking questions already about when can we get it here, when can we get it there. I mean, this is not new. I mean, we have seen this every time we have, for example, had a review that's been done by Samir or Preetham or any of our my colleagues. The feedback or the reaction to those stories going up has always been, when is it going to be available in my city? So now, the last few months, I don't mean just in the lockdown or the COVID phase, but even before that, the real sort of news around Ather has been, people like Hero investing, etc. Does that now give you those wings to be able to go out and really expand big time?
So more than capital, I think this is a function of time and just time that we needed to get the platform to a right place. When we launched in 2018, the vehicle had a lot of issues. It was a new platform. It wasn't stable. Uh, Obviously, we cleared all the certifications and it was roadworthy. But there is, like we're in the Indian market, like the kind of stuff that Honda Activa or what Maruti or Hero have achieved, the quality is just phenomenally high, man. Like people aren't used to seeing any failures ever. So and we were far away from that, and we knew that, which is why we kept our production artificially controlled. Our cost structures were also high, and our quality was also not like spectacularly great. So we wanted to use the first couple of years in improving both. Late last year is when the product quality had started showing early signs of a turnaround, and we started seeing early signs of a cost structure coming under control, like it actually becoming a positive gross margin product. With both of that happening is when we decided that this is a good time to first introduce a fresh variant, and that's when we introduced 450X to make sure that there's a reason people like are still excited about what we're doing. And behind 450X, we decided that okay, now in the next 6-7 months, let's go pan India. Let's generally
Right.
go pan India, and let's just not talk about Bangalore, Chennai, but Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Coimbatore, Calicut, Kolkata, Kochi, every single city that we can think of. Like let's open up like 10, 12, 15, 20, 30 cities ASAP. Obviously, March COVID stuck, so our plans got pushed by a few months.
But
But
that's
I
on
mean,
the
we're on
anvil.
track.
Yeah, it's still on the anvil.
Yeah, but it's on annual. It was a 3 to 4 month offset, but pretty much everything's happening now.
Yeah.
Our network is opening at a pretty healthy pace, and we are going pan India right now. The new
Okay.
plant is coming up, which will almost 10x our capacity very shortly. So yeah,
I want to
things
talk about the new plant,
happening.
but I have to start taking some questions before people get completely bugged with me.
Yeah.
A related question from Shashikant, which is an interesting one, and maybe I would also not have articulated it this way. He says, "Hi, I'm from Mumbai. My question is, why are all electric vehicle makers, why do they prefer Bangalore or Pune? And what do you think about the Indian urban market for electric vehicles next year?" So two questions in a sense.
Well, that's not really true. People do go to Hyderabad also.
Yeah. Okay.
People,
So
some
I don't
people
think
do
it.
turn up in NCR.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but
not
that's a
so much
small
for the
number. I agree. I
EV
agree.
guys, I guess.
Actually, the most of the new work in EV is just happening in Bangalore, and but that's the thing with any ecosystem. Once an ecosystem starts forming in one place, it just booms there for a while. Before it spreads to other places.
Hmm.
And I would say not even Pune. I would at this point say Bangalore is honestly the heart of that entire boom.
Pune, I guess,
Once
because of all the two-wheelers, right? It's such a huge two-wheeler market that
no,
it tends to
actually,
get focused for that reason,
honestly,
perhaps.
the only company live in Pune right now is Bajaj, but that's
Yeah,
because Bajaj is in Pune, right?
yeah.
So there are obviously a lot of exciting startups and there's a lot of good work happening, but if you just look at the sheer density of startups in a city, Bangalore obviously wins hands down.
Sure.
And like we are based out of here, Ultraviolet is here.
No, but for you to go to market, Pune would become an important one, right? Because there's so many two-wheeler buyers. That's what I mean.
Pune is city number 4 for us. So just after Hyderabad, Pune is opening, and we begin test rides there very shortly, literally a few weeks. So it's important, but it's just that right now, from a pure talent perspective, Bangalore probably is pulling the highest amount of talent. Like we have a team of almost 300 people in R&D. So we are pulling in people. I know Honda is going to be pulling in people. Mahindra has pulled in people in the past. There are lots of startups mushroomed all over the city. People are working on batteries, people are working on charging, people are working on full electric vehicles, people are working on battery swapping, people are working on three-wheelers, people are working on commercial vehicles. People are working on the software solutions, people are working on analytics layers. It's like there are like at least like a dozen segments that already are open in Bangalore, and like for every single segment there's probably like 10 different companies. So there is a lot of talent that's just getting pulled into Bangalore right now.
And I was playing your other cities video, which had Pune and Hyderabad and Mumbai. So again, related question. Tejasvi says, "Hi Siddharth, please ask Tarun when we can expect a scooter in the Delhi market." Predictable question.
Not most likely, actually pretty certain before this year end. We should begin deliveries in NCR, Delhi for sure, by December or maybe in November. So November, December, you should see deliveries begin. So if you are in the earliest slots, people who ordered 4KX and NCR back in Jan and early Feb, you should start seeing the deliveries in November, December.
Okay, and this is a definite thing, keeping all now existing delays and all in mind.
Yeah, I might be giving away our PR announcements, but yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
They may not be, your PR colleagues may not be.
I think I just read up this from our press release. I don't know, maybe it's going out right now.
Okay, I know my colleagues are watching and they're probably now scurrying to their laptops. So thank you for that. No, but an interesting question, and I'm sure you get a lot of this, especially on social media, etc. There's a question from Farooq who says, "I'm Farooq from Belgaum, Karnataka. How should I apply for a dealership for Ather in our city?" Now, Belgaum is obviously further down on that roadmap. Much further down, perhaps.
It's not in the first 15 cities for sure, I remember. I don't know if it's in the first 30.
No, so I don't expect a realistic answer from you, but sorry, say that again.
I think I can dig up the email ID of a team that you can reach out to.
Okay, great. So
I'll just check what's the email ID.
Yeah, I could type it into this chat later and you could let me know and then we can make that public. But the reason why I took that question, because even though I know it's a very specific one and you obviously, I didn't expect you to have an answer about Belgaum in particular, but the fact that you get interest from places like that, A, how heartening is it, and B, how surprising is it?
It's not surprising now, but
it's not right anymore.
So back in Jan end this year, when we had announced that we are going to be taking dealership inquiries, because honestly, if you want to open up the country so fast, we can't hire fast enough to set up Ather experience centers. I can't plow in like $100 million and just putting up experience centers across the country. It's a massive effort. We need to bring partners on board. So we announced this, and I think within a few weeks we had 2,000 people who applied for a dealership.
Wow.
And I think inquiries came from close to 100 cities. So yeah, it was crazy. Even now, inquiries still keep coming in, and not just from cities in India. Like I think Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, each of these countries has probably like somewhere in the range of 20 to 50 inquiries each. Mauritius, Pakistan, Egypt, like parts of Africa, Spain is a big one. I'm actually quite surprised that the word's spread all that far.
Well, that's, I guess, the age we live in, and those of us who are also have been genuinely excited by what you have been doing in terms of not just the product but also the story and your strategy. I guess we can take some of that credit, but these kind of things, I guess today where we are you okay with the audio?
Hello.
Do you hear me, or you're not hearing me?
Hey, Siddharth, sorry, my headphones stopped working. Couldn't hear the last 10 seconds. If you
that's fine. Repeat. No, that's fine. I will repeat what I was saying. I was saying that I think some of us who have on this side of the fence who have also been fairly impressed with the product and also the product story or strategy. We can take maybe some of the credit in terms of spreading the word, but current world we live in, this is not surprising that you will get people picking it up. They're going to ask you for it. Now we spoke about how there's interest from different parts of the country, which is not surprising, but different parts of the world. What are your plans there? I know it's very early days, but still.
There is a tweet that keeps popping up every other week on Twitter, but let me just clarify. We're not going international this year. Maybe next year, not even sure of that. So
But when
at
you
some
do,
point last year we did have serious plans. We were in active conversations in a few international markets. We were shortlisting our local country partners, but then COVID happened. And we kind of realized that the amount of effort that we were putting in there was significant. And the payoffs were really in the future. And we had so much work to do in domestic expansion and opening like not 3, 4, 5, but like 10, 15, 30, 50, 100 cities, that our energies are better spent opening up the Indian market. So we decided to put on international plans on hold for this year. We'll only pick it up sometime next year. And given that opening a country takes a long time, I would realistically expect international sales to be like maybe 2022, not before that, realistically.
And any specific market, or this is now something that you'll sort of start from scratch in terms of assessing?
Yeah, no, very vague answers, honestly. Like we have a lot of interest from Latin America. We have a lot of interest from Indonesia, Thailand, parts of Europe like Spain. But at this point, I would just wipe out all of that understanding, and I think we'll just start from a clean slate next year and revisit and form a strategy. We don't have a very clear strategy right now. It's probably for next year now.
All right. Now I have my colleagues popping out of the woodwork as well. So King Shuk is asking, he says hi to you, and he says, when does the production at the new plant begin? He also spoke about exports, but you've addressed that part.
Right. Production of the new plant should begin by end of this year, most likely December.
How excited are you about this expansion? Not just in a volume sense, but
huge. This is significant. Like we've been working on this for so long, and product development is so unpredictable. You can have delays like which run into sometimes years. But scaling up operations, scaling up retail, that's a little bit more predictable. So I'm super excited because the plan is actually coming, falling in place on time. And I'm glad that we started on this expansion like last year itself, because now's the time for 450 to basically go pan India and for us to ramp up volumes like 10x, 20x. So I'm super excited, man. Like the new plant is like 20 times bigger than our current plant. Like lots of room for expansion.
No, and room for further expansion as well, in the sense future volume requirements.
Yes. Even the new plant will actually come up in 2 phases.
Yeah.
So it should not only solve the problem for next year, but most likely for maybe 3 years.
So what is that eventual capacity that you're looking at?
Yeah, I have a lot of numbers being thrown around. At this point, I would just say phase one.
Yeah, just phase one.
Phase one should give us a comfortable 100,000 units per year, 1 lakh capacity. Can it do more? I'm hoping it'll do more, but I'm not sure of it right now. I would want to see it in action. So once phase 2 is active and everything is done, it may theoretically scale up to 500,000 units, but I don't know that today. I'll see the execution over the next 6 months, and then we'll have a better idea.
We can happily keep track of that alongside. But the part with other markets and exports obviously kicks in with that phase 2 in a more serious fashion, then I'm assuming.
Sorry, your question is exports begin seriously once the new plant is on?
No, once phase 2 kicks in, because then you'll really have the volume to be able to address several markets.
Honestly, I'm not sure exports is a volume thing.
Yeah.
I think, we are in India. Like this is the largest ruler market in the world. I think the volume problem is always domestic. I think international markets are for better ASPs and sweeter gross margins and a better branding and positioning.
Yeah.
Like unless you're a Bajaj, I don't think your biggest volume is coming by exports. So I don't think exports is going to be linked to when we have the capacity to export. I think exports would be when we have the bandwidth to sort of actually focus on that. And honestly, most export markets are not really going to be export markets. I think we'll only go to places where we can actually set up like a country division, right? Like actually set up a small assembly locally. So it's a while out.
But isn't like that's the first approach you want to take, or you could start with smaller markets, then look at maybe
I
doing
don't
this?
know. Like honestly,
Okay, I'm
I'm out
also,
of
yeah. I think
honestly, I'm out of my depth. Like
I'm
we've had some strategies for but they're like so last year and that's so pre-COVID that I don't know what the new world looks like.
Wow. Yeah, okay. I will stop with my business journalist questions because I
Yeah.
by default go into that old mode sometimes. So no, even though I know we are sort of hopping around on topics, there were a couple of interesting questions that have come. So let me take this one next from Avinash. Two questions. He says, any plans to make the battery swappable and any plans to make motorcycles?
Battery swappable, no. That's a very different architecture and a massive distraction for us. So we're not going to be building that. Our focus is fairly clear: faster charging, faster and faster and faster, faster charging. We've been able to bring down the fast charging time down from, I believe it was 1 hour for 80% to something like 40 minutes for 80% now. And I believe it will go down to something like 20 minutes in the next couple of years. So if in 20 minutes you can get like 80 or 100 kilometers, you have like 4 kilometers per minute. That's fast, man. Like 4 or 5 kilometers per minute. You literally stop at a station for 5 minutes. You can go anywhere in the city after that. So that's what we want to focus on. So swapping is not for us, at least not now. Motorcycles would absolutely love to. I think that the architecture that we have built would seamlessly translate into a motorcycle form factor, but we're not building that this year. So, mm, so that means it's still a few years out.
But what is the priority in the sense, would you like to have a more expanded or a more detailed scooter portfolio before you start looking at that? Or is it just a parallel thing that will keep addressing market needs
Um,
without sort of, let's say, putting yourself into any one boundary or slot?
so thing about scooters is we do have the basic architecture already in place. So doing more variants is not that massive a project as, let's say, building a motorbike. A motorbike would be essentially a new vehicle platform. Though the technology platform will luckily be the same, so it will not take like 4 or 5 years to do it. But something like a motorcycle will still, in my opinion, be a two-year product dev, a 2 year launch cycle. Like a new scooter at this point for us, I would say will be like a 12, 15 months launch cycle. But a motorbike will be probably a 24, maybe a 30-month cycle. So they will likely coexist. It's just that for now, this year, with the expansion being the key priority, we are only focusing on the 450X, like nothing else. Like everything else is on the back burner right now. We're not touching anything else. Heads down, focused on just making sure that we have fewer bugs, we have better quality, we have a lower cost structure, we have better and better features, we have more software improvements on the same product coming in on schedule. Once this starts stabilizing, maybe by early to mid next year, that's when more scooters, more motorbikes will start making sense.
All right. Lots more comments and questions coming. So, in fact, there's a funny aside from Ameya saying that Dig at Bajaj cannot be missed. And in fact, I must tell you that when you were saying that, I wanted to jump in and say there are different reasons why they have higher export volume than domestic sometimes because of their issues happening domestically. I will obviously not ask you to comment on that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But the 450X. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Tell us about the product, quite simply.
Sorry, lost you there. Tell us about.
The 450X.
So 450X is built on the 450 platform, obviously. So the core vehicle platform is by vehicle platform, I mean the chassis and the layout and the bodyworks is almost exactly the same. Minor aesthetic changes, very minor. It does have more color options, so that's the first that we are bringing out. But the key differences are on battery, charging, and the motor. So the battery in particular can pump out a lot more charge now. It can pump out almost, I believe, 20 to 30% more current, and that allows us to build out the warp mode. So the motor is actually a similar hardware, but integrated a little differently. The controller a little tuned a little differently, which allows us to pull out the warp mode, which makes it in. I should wait for some formal testing by you guys, but from what I've seen, this is now likely the quickest production scooter in India ever. So that's a combination of a much better battery and the motor tuned a little better, allowing us to do that. And again, the upside of the battery allows us to charge the vehicle much faster. So the fast charging capability on 450X is 50% faster than 450. So notice we haven't gone like a 5, 10, 15% improvement. We've had a jump of 50%. So those are some of the big changes on the vehicle and the experience side, vehicle experience side. The other big changes on in the dashboard. So that's undergone a significant change. From 3G, we moved to 4G. We've had a Snapdragon processor, which is a little faster. We moved the entire stack to Android, which makes the entire interface much more smoother. We have Bluetooth integrated in it, and the entire experience is just a lot more better. So significant improvements on the HMI side, significant jump up on the performance side and the charging side. That's what 450X is in a nutshell.
As we are speaking, I've got visuals up on the screen. The video is playing out with that new touch screen and the interface being completely different. Before that, when you were speaking about the colors, we were seeing the aqua colored scooter that we had managed to get our hands on and shot with a very disproportionate Sameer sitting on it. In fact, I must tell you that we have an inside joke at Car and Bike where we're like, maybe we are doing a disservice to you by putting Sameer on the scooter because it makes the scooter look really small. But jokes notwithstanding, the new colors, etc., that certainly did get a lot of attention. It got people excited. And in fact, most of the questions are about the X, I have to tell you. The people who are saying, when can I get one, etc. There's a question from George saying, collector's edition 450X delivery in Kochi. Will it happen before March 2021? Very specific question.
Yeah, I really want to answer that, but I think more answers on cities and I'll give up my entire press release. So maybe wait for like a few days.
So when is this press release coming? At least give us that.
I think it's coming out. I'll just check here. I'm not sure, but very soon.
Okay, fair enough. There are a couple of people who've asked this question about the government policy on OEMs now being able to sell without the battery. What's your view?
Um, I think okay, directionally I think that's a good thing to do. Allowing OEMs the flexibility to finance batteries or sell the batteries separately opens up more financing options for the customers. Fundamentally because the life of the battery is different from the life of the vehicle. It allows us to have usage-based financing models or duration-based financing models, leasing, subscription, lots of different innovations open up. It also runs a risk, and I'll be honest there. The risk is that it should, if it crosses the boundary from OEMs having flexibility to OEMs being forced to sell a vehicle without a battery, we'll run into dangerous territory. Batteries are not exactly petrol. Like you're not exactly loading up your tank with anybody's petrol. It's not a commodity.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have a situation. Basically, what I'm saying is the OEM should be able to stand behind the integration promise of the vehicle. Whether they build the batteries themselves or a partner builds it, that's immaterial. But the integration promise should be underwritten by the OEM. But that aside, and I think a lot of details are still awaited in that announcement. I think directionally it's a good announcement. It opens up more ownership models for electric vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I think the flexibility there, like you said, it shouldn't be a rigid thing one way or the other. And as long as there's a good amount of leeway there, I think it will actually work to the benefit of finally seeing some expansion and growth here. Speaking of which, I think Sameer heard all my smart comments, and so he's popped up on the timeline as well, and he's asking you a question. So I'll ask his question before I get to what I was going to say. He says, hey Tarun, can you please shed some light on the infrastructure expansion plans for the Ather grid? Is the focus on setting up more charging points as much as the brand touch points?
Yeah, with more cities opening up, more charging points are coming up. Right now, it's like something like it's like a dozen charging points per city, unless it's a place as big as NCR or Mumbai, then it's more. I think we have about 150 partners already on board outside of Bangalore and Chennai, and work will be beginning very, very, very shortly for installations across multiple cities simultaneously. So we'll see almost like 100 charging points come up in this year.
All right. So related question.
This will be our biggest jump. I know we have had a little bit of stagnation for a while in the number of additional new charging points. That was partly because we underwent a technology change. We had the fast chargers, and then we launched the super fast charging tech with 40X. So it just made sense for us to sort of push out a plan for new charging points for a few months, and then directly jump into the faster charging tech. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and that kind of derailed plans by another few months. But end of this year, we'll start seeing many more charging points pop up.
All right. So actually, there was a related question from Hemant who's asking the same thing. How come it slowed down, and then when can we expect more to come up in places like Bangalore and Chennai? And you answered that already. So just want to acknowledge that question. Okay. So the thing which I wanted to ask you about is that when you see now the user experience, people actually living with your product. What's the kind of feedback that you have received? Early days still, I know, but what is that? And how satisfying is that part of this, where you meet actual customers or you see people in traffic on the scooter?
It's amazing. I remember this being a boardroom conversation once, but we're talking about when will we be able to see an Ather once every minute on this signal. I think the day that starts happening, once we see an Ather every minute, we've kind of arrived in the city, and we're very close, I think. At least in Bangalore, I mean.
We've got shots of you
No,
guys
it's super
with
exciting. Like
customers
every time.
on this.
Sorry.
I'm saying we got customer meet. Those shots are on the screen as you're talking.
Yeah, okay.
Just so you know.
No, in Bangalore at least, if you now go out, you will see an Ather in pretty much every route that you take. You will see a couple of them on your route, so it's great. Customer-wise, I think we've been a little surprised. We thought we had this ideal image of an early adopter customer, and like this person, like this software engineer, headphones on, early 20s. I think that's changed. What you've seen is users are everywhere, and I've been trying to bucket them out, but I've not been very successful, honestly. Like, I tried describing my users initially as early 20s, then I described my users as late 20s to early 30s, then I described my users as males, then I described my users as okay, people with enough disposable income, or only in certain parts of the city. Everything's been wrong. Like, everything's been wrong.
But that's great, right?
You've seen.
That's good for
That's
you.
great. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. In a way, it kind of scares you initially that was your hypothesis wrong, and are you selling a confused product? But what I realize now is that no, we're building a
It's
vehicle.
more
Like
universal.
a vehicle
Yeah,
is going to be used by everybody, right?
yeah.
And I think it's amazing if everybody, like, actually the one common theme between all people are most of them are comfortable with new technology, or ago they're early adopters of new tech. But from a age perspective, from a background perspective, from a job perspective, there's such a wide variety, and that gives me confidence that even as we scale this up, if that holds true, then we're really serving a lot of different markets simultaneously. So I'm excited.
There were a lot of questions about competition, and while I'm not going to ask you specifically about competition, the fact that the space is now seeing so much interest, there are so many players getting in, there are more investments being announced every second day. What part of that is good for the business overall? I understand from an ecosystem perspective, obviously having more players is good, but then what part of it worries you as well in terms of some people who are doing it the right way, so to speak, and some who maybe not? And I won't ask you to name the ones who are not doing it the right way. Don't worry.
Okay, so
I might privately ask
what's
you that, but not. I won't put you on the spot here.
sure. Okay, so what's bad? What worries me? Um, I think when I now hear announcements which I know are just physically, I just against the laws of physics, that worries me, because
Okay.
there is just more awareness about electric vehicles now, and when somebody announces, it's good to have a target of a big range product, for example, but if that range, there are limits to what you can actually achieve with architectures. And the problem is, if you don't meet that, a lot of customers will just see EV sector as just a mess. So that worries me every time I hear an announcement that I know not just somebody's going to miss by a little while, but somebody's going to miss by a mile, either in terms of timeline or usually specs. Not even timeline is also not a biggest specs. That's what bothers me about competition. Only that. What's exciting though is, yeah, it helps with price points. So we were working last year, and we knew that we had to increase the price point of 450. The price point that we had now was not going to be long-term sustainable. The problem was we had no competition close by. It becomes hard if you're like 3x more expensive than the nearest guy. It makes the leap for the customer very hard. And boom, just like that, in January, both TVS and Bajaj announced a product whose on-road prices are around 1.1 to 1.22. allowing us to sort of recalibrate our price
Yeah.
points. So there's been good that's come out of the competition, honestly.
And those two are, of course, big players, and there was always going to be the, when rather than if approach when it came to these guys making these kind of product announcements.
Yeah.
But of the others who are in that sort of startup space like yourself, uh, who impresses you, or if anybody does at all impress you, that is.
Uh, at this point, don't want to name names. There is interesting work happening, but I would reserve comments until I see
The actual
commercialization
products,
happen.
yeah.
Until I see so there are really good concepts that we have
Yeah.
seen in motorbikes and in the three-wheeler segment. But we heard about interesting concepts in the scooter segment, but honestly, none of them even made, like, I haven't seen any of them even made a way to a good prototype. But in the motorbikes, we have seen some at least good early prototypes come in. So I think there is a lot of excitement up ahead. But I would reserve comments on what I'm personally excited about until I actually see
That's fair.
commercialization happen.
No, and that,
Having gone through our own journey, I know the journey from
yeah.
from a very exciting product to a commercially viable product is like really long, man. So I just want to see how people are approaching that.
But tell me this, that, when it comes to these kind of products, not just the announcements, but the actual products and, the diversification, maybe more motorcycles as well, not just scooters in the future. They also have a lot of tech-enabled, solutions that they're offering. There's a lot more interface related ideas. There's even some of them are even adding artificial sound now. Stuff like that. How much of your focus in terms of future development is around these things, which are outside the core of the actual product, the chassis, the performance? But when you're talking about connectivity, telematics, yeah, artificial sound, uh, is that a distraction at this point, or is there like a little section within the company now which kind of already has to be working on stuff like that?
We're not doing artificial sounds, but that aside,
Yeah, okay.
we've been working on a connected product for a long time. Yeah? Like,
Yeah.
we were the first properly connected scooter. We're the first ones to have 3G connectivity.
Hmm.
We are the first ones to introduce paired Bluetooth helmets. We're the first ones to have onboard navigation, like proper Google Maps on the screen. We are the first ones to actually push notification to your phones, and now locations directly from your phones, charging reminders, servicing, everything, right? So first, connectivity has been one of the key pillars of our product thesis in the scooter segment. So in our vehicles. And now it's one of the largest divisions we have. So we have almost, I believe, if you look at connectivity as a complete feature, as a complete direction, sorry, which will cover everything from the touch screen and the data pipeline and the mobile side and the constant software upgrades. So we push I think we're the only ones that have been pushing software upgrades in the entire two-wheeler industry, possibly in the entire automotive segment in the country. We pushed six, I believe now seventh software upgrade went in, I think, last night or yesterday, day before. So we have pushed seven software upgrades in a 2-year history, right? And these are not been just bug fixes. Like, majority of them have
Yeah.
actually been new feature improvements, right? So you can imagine that this is a big focus area. I believe we'll have on this entire thing somewhere in the range of maybe 50 to 60 engineers working right now, pretty much exclusively only for this.
That's substantial, and it's more than I would have expected you to say. And I'm glad you gave us that clarification that they're not all just bugs. A lot of it is new features. Uh, what is your? I mean, right now, of course, things are curtailed, and we still have some semblance of lockdown in many parts of the country. But assuming things go back to normal soon enough, what's your workplace environment like? What is the average Ather employee? How connected, sorry for the pun, are they to the actual product, no matter what part of the business they're in?
Um, so the average age, I believe, is just under 30, 29 or 30. Sorry, there's a flight going here. Just
I am playing out shots of your office in the meanwhile, so people get to see that.
right. Sorry. So I was saying the average age is just under 30, I believe, right now. And but all our team is here in Bangalore, and I think we'll be here for the foreseeable future. I think we love our headquarters, we love our office. So once we do start coming back to office, maybe early next year, I think we'll stay here.
And of course, there's the expansions happened there as well. So in terms of the production, so I know for the foreseeable future you're there. There's been so much talk about all the investment that's coming from Hero, and people love to have play the conjecture game and start to assume that at some point you're going to be just swallowed up by Hero.
Yep.
or at least start doing very credible electric products for Hero. Uh, what part of that would you like to clarify?
Uh, we are not selling ourselves. No, I think again,
You know
first to
where it
clarify,
comes from. I
heroes.
mean, people just go 2 plus 2, 22.
No, it's
20,
fine.
I
It's
can't
fine.
say
It's fine. I
22 to
understand.
you
Understand.
actually.
And
Sorry.
and honestly, Hero has put in sizable capital.
Yeah.
We'll acknowledge that. I think it's been a very gutsy call. And I think nobody's come close. Hero's invested what? I think something like a little bit more than 400 crores over the last few years. So that's substantial capital for an Indian auto company. There's a lot of respect for Hero, and I think they've been fantastic partners. There's so much good advice that we have had at a board level. There's so much, like, just the sheer understanding of supply chain and the
Yeah.
Indian auto scene is just so immense that just by sheer osmosis you learn a lot. But see, like, there's a reason we are not right now present in an Hero showroom, right? The reason Ather is entertaining 2,000 plus dealership inquiries itself. There's a reason we are setting up our own manufacturing plant. There is a reason we built out this R&D completely ourselves here. Hero's backed it up, and there's no denying that. And I'm super glad to have that. And I do expect that they will continue to be supporters. But that doesn't mean that oh, this is a technology that's to be absorbed. And I think that's the crux of where I believe people get it wrong. People still continue thinking of electric like a BS6, right? It's like, oh, the transition to electric, like, a transition from BS4 to BS6. Like, it's like finding the right one component from a Bosch. वो एक component मिल गया तो आपका problem solve हो गया, right? Like, it's not that. Electric is different.
Yeah.
Electric is not like one component to change. It's like एक engine हटा के बस एक motor लगा तो like life का problem solve. It's not that, right? It's 85% of your bill of materials is different. 85% of your supply chain is different. None of the assembly sequences are the same. The assembly plant is different. And now, as the EV world is expanding, everybody is quickly going to realize, heck, the entire retail sales, post sales model, everything is different, right? Nothing about electric has roots in the legacy petrol auto world, right? And if Aether has got to lead this, Aether has got to be independent. Aether has got to sort of strike out on its own. It's amazing and it's fantastic to have the support of the largest or two-wheeler player out there. But people got to understand, like, this is not like one small technology change. So when the technology is finally ready and the patents are filed, please come acquire this. Like, it's not that. And yeah, that's the part I can clarify.
So the reason obviously that people make that sort of conjecture is that obvious, very basic understanding of what this could be for them, what's in it for them, so to speak. But given the fact that you mentioned TVS, Bajaj, they already have products that have come to market. Hero can't be far behind. I mean, just in terms of where they are with their business and how they deal with their rivals, they obviously have electric plans. They've even spoken about that. What part of that impacts you, whether it is them doing their own electric scooter or bike or whatever, or whether it is some involvement from your side to help them bring that to market? Which one, if either one, impacts you positively or negatively?
So today there is no formal engagement on either side. I've
And they
said
have
this,
said that as
that
well, by the way.
there might be an opportunity.
No,
Sorry.
I said, and they have said as much as well. I think they have officially,
Yes,
publicly
and,
said
and,
as
and
much.
honestly,
Yeah.
like, beyond this point, we are just pulling on a thread that does not exist. But I've been clear, like, they're fantastic partners. There might be opportunities to sort of do things together as time goes by. Even large auto companies at some point, like find synergies. So we're just starting out. At the right point, if there's synergies, we'll explore them, man. But like, at this point, the only thing that I'm worried about, the only thing that we're all working on is expansion of 50x. Everything else is a distraction this year. So it's as simple as that.
I haven't actually ridden the X yet, so I'm hoping that one shows up very soon somewhere close by to Delhi. The question it's almost like a very philosophical and you know a question that comes at the end, and I'm just looking at the time, and I guess we should be wrapping this up because I didn't realize we've been talking for so long.
Right.
And that happens, by the way, on this show pretty much every episode. Vishnu has this question. Can you share any innovation in manufacturing which brought down your cost or your effort significantly?
At this point, I wouldn't say manufacturing. There's been a lot of strong work that's gone on, but like a massive leap or a huge innovation there, I'll have to scratch my head, or it's probably confidential and I can't talk about it. At this point, honestly, most of the cost reduction is being driven by primarily engineering and design efforts or supply chain optimizations. Manufacturing optimizations, um, there's some amount of automations that's starting to come in, especially on the battery side. But that I wouldn't say is out of the ordinary. I think large auto companies do that, so we're doing something similar. Uh, it's probably yeah, not much yet. Simple answer, not much yet. Not on the manufacturing side.
All right. Speaking of these sort of larger vision kind of questions, let's take another one like that. This is from Alok. He says, "What's been the biggest challenge for building conviction in the mind of masses, the consumer that is, when it comes to EVs? How's Ather's, how has your experience been on that front, apart from obviously the products and technology, etc.?"
So I think the answer here has got to be specific to every company, and there's no one answer.
Yeah.
For us, what we always felt is that we are a new brand, and we're asking somebody to buy an expensive product. Now that's not going to happen if if a customer comes in and kind of gets a feeling that wow, you guys are shady or fly by night, right? Like today you might be here, tomorrow not. So like and if you put that perspective and you think of what we have done, that might help explain a lot of things that we've done over the last 2 3 years. One of the first things that we announced was not Ather 450. The first thing that we announced was Ather Grid, and we actually started putting up this beautiful looking charging points across Bangalore, and we had I think about 15-20 points even before we began the first scooters delivery. The idea was to sort of give people the kind of assurance that listen, if we have invested in charging infrastructure, fast charging infrastructure before rolling out products, like clearly there's a thinking that's gone right. Like we have not imported like a container out of China and put a sticker and like started selling them here. The other thing that we did is we invested in an experience center, and the way you should see our experience center, and if you ever came, you would notice it. If you take a walk around, and there'll be like there'll be product specialists who've been trained for like months. They really understand the technology, they really understand the product, they really understand the use cases, and they will give you a really nice guided tour. By the time you're done with the tour, we would have basically shown you every aspect of ownership, right? Like, listen, this is how you place the pre-order. This is what, like, you take a test ride, you come back, and there is this big giant 50-inch screen on which your entire test ride data plops up on a beautiful visualization. Clearly, like, we've had a few engineers work on that for like months to just put that together, right? Then you come in and you see the beautifully crafted battery pack. You see a beautifully crafted frame. The frame, like just the frame alone, so good that you could probably buy the vehicle just with that, no bodyworks. Then you see the open dashboard. Then you see the submerged battery pack. Then you see the open charging station. Then you see the entire charging station map. Then you see the entire post-purchase where we have subscription packs preempting a lot of your requirements post-servicing, so on and forth. Then you see the mobile app. And the idea is that by the time you're done with the entire experience, we wanted to make sure that a customer kind of walks out thinking, wow, this is like this could be a Tata, man. Like, right? Like these guys could have been here like for like decades. Like this is not a new thing. Like they've been doing it for like forever. Like these guys know the shit. So for us, I would say that's been the biggest thing that we've been trying to solve when we talk about customer perception. Ensure that nobody walks out thinking, wow, exciting, plucky startup. They walk out thinking, I know, Apple, right? Like, how did I not know of this European or American brand? In fact, even if you talk to our customers today, a lot of them still continue to think this is a European brand. Like, and actually, when we send out the invites to join in an open house in Bangalore, they're actually surprised. Wow, you guys are from Bangalore? They did not know that. Many of them place pre-orders and they don't know that. So, and so that's been a big focus area, and that's what we still continue working on.
All right. I know I should wrap this up, but there are questions still coming. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of them real quick, if I can bear your indulgence. The question from Roger was, since you started with batteries and continue to innovate in that field, would you at some point look to branch out in non-automotive areas like maybe even home electrification?
I think it makes a lot of sense. It's exciting, but at the right time.
Okay.
So at the right time, we'd love to do it. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. This is another question that people are still asking. By the way, there's Karan who's now saying, "What about Gujarat?" So I think you'll have to watch this video from the start, Karan, because maybe you've just joined us, and there's a very robust expansion roadmap that
We already
Karan
announced Ahmedabad. We might announce more. Wait for it. But we already announced Ahmedabad. Actually, beyond this, I can't give details. I'll have to wait for a few days.
That's fine. I mean, and what I was trying to say is that maybe they missed that part of the conversation where you did say there's all these cities that are in the pipeline, and it's all happening very quickly now. in the next few months. So Praveen is asking, do you visualize Ather having an IPO maybe in a 5-year time frame?
5 years, yes.
Okay.
I do think a good corporate structure will a good direction for us would be to eventually go for an IPO. Yeah, so I do visualize an IPO. 5 years would probably be a good timeline. Yeah.
It's a good time frame, yeah. And speaking of that time frame, Vivek had this question which came a long time ago, but I'm pulling it up now. Where do you see Ather in 5 years?
About 100 cities in India. A few scooters, at least one, if not two motorbikes. Maybe a few international markets. Um, I would say somewhere in the range of maybe 2 to maybe 3,000 charging points, fast charging points across all over the country. Um, yeah, that'll be like a pretty reasonable 5 year view.
And given that sort of scale and that kind of expansion that you envision, what sort of volume scale are we talking to coincide with that? Do you think?
A 5 year view,
As you see
my
it
dream
today.
volume would be to get to something like 1 million units per annum.
Hmm.
If we can get there in a 5 year view, I think that'll be fantastic. But beyond that is just projections now.
No, but is that the kind of target you're working towards as well?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah,
All right.
the target would be to get somewhere close to 1 million units. Hard to put an exact finger on the timeline, but if you're present in 100 cities in 5 years, why not? I think that's a very interesting target to take.
I can tell you a personal, sort of aside again, and that is that, when you first came out with announcements, and you're right, the first announcements we heard were about the chargers and the network for that. And I remember sort of, and then we had sort of like, we'd sent in a few questions on email, and then you guys had sent back answers, and we'd done a story. At the time, I remember thinking, it's nice to see a very different approach in this space than what's been happening so far. Like you said, people either bringing things in from China or just having this very quick, let's quickly get the product to market and then we'll see kind of approach. So I remember being very impressed by that and saying something here to watch for. And it's great to hear you talk about, hitting 1 million units and stuff like that. I mean, that's more power to you. Pun intended.
Thank you.
So I think we should therefore wrap it up because I could go on chatting. And a lot of people are saying thank you for addressing their questions. A lot of people still saying hello to you. And the whole focus of this entire chat window on the left here, I find, is all about when can we get our hands on the product. So you certainly have a lot of eager people waiting, that's for sure.
No, and I'm glad for all of them. I'll thank all of them for the excitement and the support. That's what's keeping us going. And we'll be with you very soon.
All right. No, I look forward to hearing more news on that front from you, and then also hopefully, for all the things that you've just talked about, and as I promised, the intent was always there, but now even more so, want to visit you guys in Bangalore and see all of this for myself. Some of the things you've
It's okay.
talked about.
I think we'll be in NCR before that year.
No, but I want to come and see like this, the visitor center, and some of this experience stuff that you talked about. Product, yes, please get me one as soon as you can. I'd love to experience it.
Cool.
For that, I don't want to wait for this whole pandemic to end. Travel, I might have to wait for that. But product, by all means, when you have one here, please let me know.
Absolutely, Siddharth.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today, and really
Great.
appreciate your, being so candid with your answers and the time to take everybody's queries. It's been fun.
That's been fun talking to you. Thanks for having me over, Siddharth. Really?
Appreciate it, and
Bye-bye.
to you and the team, all the very best. And
Thank you.
stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, so you heard a whole lot on what Ather's plans are and how quickly some of that is going to unfold. A lot of excitement, and you could see the sheer passion with which Tarun was, bringing all of that information to us. That and the conviction that he has, therefore, behind what he's doing along with his team is really what's been driving Ather. We see a whole lot of promise in terms of future products. You heard that within the next 5-year window, there should be at least 3 scooters, maybe 2 motorcycles, and plans to go to about 1 million units annual sales. So this is exciting stuff. It's a space that's going to continue to expand. We are very happy to cover it. And if you have any ideas or comments or questions, you have to, of course, keep them coming to us at Car and Bike. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a while, after which I've been able to join you on Freewheeling. and hopefully we'll have somebody exciting like this for you very soon. So again, thank you for joining, and please stay safe. Please wear your seatbelts if you're in a car, and obviously helmets if you are on a bike. For those of you who have just joined us later, we've been talking about Ather today. So I'll leave you with a quick look at Ather's latest product, the 450X. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe. Bye-bye.